Sponsor and team management and some of the drivers.
Yay, vandaag is die dag wat ons gaan sweep, hoor.
The big day had arrived, and as is the norm, there were last-minute preparations before the crews headed out into the arid Pilanesberg area. Richard Schilling had his own support group. Off-road racing rates high in the Glamour Stakes.
Navigation could actually be a deciding factor in the race. Yesterday we all struggled a lot in the time trial. Although they have obviously marked the route, there's a lot of tracks and things like that here, so it's a question of using the route schedule and combination of the stickers, and also being able to read the road, anticipate where you think the route's going to go.
We had a good qualifying yesterday, and I think if I see there's not a lot of wind, I think we're going to be okay in the front, and the other guys are going to probably eat our dust if we don't get any punctures within the first hour.
We had a small fire on board with one of the hair dryers we used to use as a demist for the front windscreen, and it's caught fire, and we had to stop and put it out, and it's one of those things, but hopefully they find this morning and we won't have the same problem.
Yeah, we're in third position. I would have liked to have been a little bit closer, but unfortunately we had a steering pump problem, and the new steering pump only arrived from France on Wednesday, so once again I haven't been able to get in the car since Tarkastad, so to not sit in the car for a month and then suddenly put up a good time. The Nissan guys are testing all the time, you know, with their overseas program and local program, so we were a little bit off the pace yesterday. Both Kenny and I are a little bit rusty, so not exactly where I would like to be. I'd like to be up in front because the dust is going to be horrendous today. It really is, but yeah, it's okay.
We had a clean run yesterday. The car was overheating a bit because of the hassles, but our strategy for today is just to take it easy on the first loop. It's one of 3 loop race, and then to really go for it in the second and third loop once we know where we're going.
The aerial visuals are courtesy of the Kopenhagen Hotel medical and TV helicopter. Krobler and Leek led the way the 64 starters and had a distinct advantage, and that they would have no dust problems, provided of course they weren't overtaken by anyone. This Donga section proved to be a problem for many crews in the prologue and would have to be traversed 3 times during the main event. Foss and Griffith were next away in the proudly South African Nissan hardbody, and despite the fact that they had a 28-second dust gap on their teammates, visibility in the hanging dust proved to be an early problem. Woolridge and Shorthammer were a further minute behind in the Team Ford Racing Ranger, which allowed the dust to clear and give them a small advantage over Foss and Griffith. De Villiers and Jordan would have to make up over 2 minutes on leaders Grobler and Leek, and had Reyneke and Houghton 1 second behind them at the start. A large crowd had turned out to witness the high-speed spectacle in the Pilanesberg and would not be disappointed. Reyneke and Houghton had already dropped back because of the dust and trailed De Villiers and Jordan by 18 seconds within a few kilometers of the start. Mark Corbett and Jason Brewer led away the next 7 starters in the Century Property Development's bat, all of whom were special vehicles. Albert is a former special vehicle drivers champion and returned to competition earlier this year after taking delivery of the first customer bat, while arch rivals Gerard and Kobie du Plessis were one of 8 husband and wife pairings in the Sun City 400. No doubt Zane Noble and Richard Hope would rather be languishing beside the pool than messing around in the dust. Nodders Alberts and Colin Hunter started 90 seconds behind Noble and had the benefit of a temporarily dust-free route, but all that would change as he set about carving his way through the field in the Rapsa Raceco. That was bat racing pair Gary Bertolt and Brandon Harkes emerging from the dust, followed by Rashid and Faisal Noble, who were causing a bit of a traffic jam behind them. Goslar and Warren Bowie were on charge and closing in on teammate Gareth Walk in the O'Hagan's Kopenhagen Hotel Mighty Mag, but bogged down on the hairpin that had proved to be a problem for so many crews. Class E Championship contenders Schroeder and Peckham could have done without this delay so early in the race. Class F Championship leaders Jaap Zeeman and Johannes Bauwais got themselves into all kinds of trouble at the hairpin. The aging two-wheel drive Ford Cortina just couldn't make its way up the steep incline. Terence Marsh and Trevor Ayer damaged the Nashua Mobile Jimco soon after the start of the prologue and started 48th. Class A Championship contenders John Moore and Fred Berner had problems during the prologue and started 49th in the Shell Conix Chenoweth. Raul Gomez and Pascal Atuka, who were making their national championship debut, also got it all wrong at the hairpin. Reigning Class B champions Marcus Taylor and Mark de Chalane had suspension problems in the prologue and started the main event in 54th place. An exasperated Bauwais just couldn't understand why no competitor had offered to tow the stricken Cortina out of its sandy grave. Andre Buerta and Beens Heidenrich took advantage of their rivals' dilemma and grabbed the Class F lead in the O'Hagan's Kopenhagen Hotel Super Team Chevy. Hannes Grobler and Richard Leek had opened a commanding lead over the rest of the field. The proudly South African Nissan crew were in total control, with the veteran rally and off-road champions reveling in the conditions. Teammates Duncan Foss and Mike Griffith have finally got to grips with the more powerful Class T Nissan after moving up from Class D at the start of the season. However, the reigning production vehicle champions had lost time due to a persistent misfire, which materialized soon after the start of the event.
Right, hard right, hard right, hard right, hard right. Okay. Look here, yeah, left.
Woolridge and Scholtheimer were handily placed in the Team Ford Racing Ranger and just waiting for an opportunity to close the gap on the leading Nissans. With the handling and performance of the Ford now near perfect, the former Roof of Africa winners on 2 and 4 wheels posed the biggest threat to the triumphant Nissan squad. De Villiers and Jordan were fourth in the proudly South African Nissan hardbody. They were close enough to Woolridge and Saltheimer for the Ford's dust to be a bit of a problem. Reinecker and Houghton were trailing in fifth place. The handling problems on the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser were now a thing of the past, and they were finally capable of mounting a challenge for the lead. Mark Corbett and Jason Brewer had matters under control in the special vehicle category, but would later retire when an upper front A-arm broke on the Century Property Development's bat, which would leave the way open for Gerard and Quevi du Plessis to take the lead in the Porsche-powered Mobile Jimco. Class S leaders Zane Noble and Richard Hope had a storming drive in the third-placed Abe's Furniture Raceco, but had Gary Berthold and Brandon Harkes, who had made up a place in the bat, breathing down their necks. Berthold's father, Bodo, and Harkes' stepfather, Arthur, are former off-road racers who dominated the sport in the 70s and 80s. Could it be a case of chips off the old blocks? There were problems for Noble and Hunter. Punctures, of which there would be many in the Sun City 400, caused unnecessary delays for many teams who would lose any advantage gained over their rivals. The Abe's Furniture team is a family affair, with Rashid Noble fielding two cars, one for him and nephew Faisal, and the other for nephew Zain, whom he would soon overtake. Karting and circuit racing exponent Marc Ronier has applied his talents to off-road racing in such style that few, if any, of his class rivals can match his pace in the Castrol Toyota Hilux 2.7i. Veteran co-driver Chris Birkin's role in Cronier's meteoric rise to prominence in off-road racing cannot be underestimated. It's very much a case of the old dog teaching the pup some valuable tricks. All Foss's hard work came to naught when he picked up a puncture which allowed Woolridge, De Villiers and then Reinecker to nip by. Special vehicle leader Corbett took advantage of the situation. A minute had already been lost as the Nissan crews slaved away in the heat, and then du Plessis stormed past. By this time, just on 2 minutes had passed, and then it was the turn of Berthold to gain another place in his quest for the special vehicle lead. Foss lost over 3 minutes.
The SA.
There was no stopping Arnes Grobler and Richard Leake, who had opened up a comfortable lead on the second-placed crew. The route provided a challenging mix of terrain with rocky sections, such as this one, taking their toll on suspensions and tyres. Team Ford racing pair Woolridge and Saltheimer gained a place when they passed the Nissan of Foss and Griffith, and were now intent on catching the leading Nissan. De Villiers and Jordan had moved up to third in the proudly South African Nissan hardbody, but their progress would soon be slowed when a rear drive shaft broke. The Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser of Reiniger and Houghton made light work of the rocky conditions, as did the mobile Jimco special vehicle category leaders Gerard and Kobie du Plessis, whose run would be cut short when the engine cried enough. Berthold and Harkus sensed that there were problems with the leading Jimco and started to pile on the pressure.